Hello and welcome to the introduction of the grand staff. This right here is the grand staff. What kind of instruments will use the grand staff? Well, two-handed instruments or choral music. If you play piano, you'll see this a lot. If you play harp, you'll see this. If you play, well, any instrument that requires two hands that are doing two different kinds of notes. Choral music will have this because voices singing together. There'll be, well, you'll have the soprano on this note, the alto on this note, the tenors on this note, and the basses on this note. That's why you will see the grand staff if you are singing music with a group of people. But for now, we're just going to talk about it being the staff that the piano uses the most often. So, in order to make the grand staff, you have the treble clef, which we talked about in a previous episode. Well, that's horrible tracing, but you get what I mean. And the bass clef. And these are joined together by this line down here and this curvy line here called a bracket. So I'm going to write some of these things down. The entire thing is called the grand staff, and the grand staff is made up of a treble staff and a bass staff put together by this thing called a bracket. How are you going to find your notes on the grand staff? Well, if you listen to my introduction on the treble staff, you will know that because this is the G clef, it circles around the G line, which is right here. So if I put a note on here, I know that this note right here, this is going to be a G. And this staff over here is also called the F clef, and it would be the F staff, I suppose. So these dots surround the F line. So if I put a note on this guy, it's going to be F. And all notes, when you're finding them put together, they all go stepwise. So if you can go backwards and forwards in the alphabet, then you can figure out the names of all the rest of these notes. And just a reminder, in the musical alphabet, we have A, B, C, D, E, F, G. That's it. We do not have H. No H. We just start right over again. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And it keeps going, keeps going. So let's start over here with this G right here. So this is G. Let's make this text box a little smaller. This is G. This is going to be A. Oops. No, it's not. This is going to be A, this space. And then this line is going to be D. This space is going to be C. This line is going to be D. This space is going to be E. This line is going to be F. And we can also go backwards too. So I'll go back and say, oh, here's my G line, here's my G. All right? What comes before G in the alphabet? F. What comes before F in the alphabet? E. What comes before E in the alphabet? D, as on the space. And then we've run out of lines and spaces. We've kind of gone above, we've gone below. Okay, let's do the same with the bass staff. So this is F. Then going above, what comes after F? G. Comes after G in the musical alphabet? A. Comes after A? B. And then let's go back and, okay, here's our F again on the line. I'm going to go backwards. What comes before F? That would be E. So this space is E. What comes before E? This line is D. What comes before D? C. What comes before C? B. What comes before B? A. What comes before A in the musical alphabet? This is kind of a tricky one. What comes before A? G. And what comes before G? F. So we've gone up and down in both the treble and the bass staff. So you can figure out the names of the notes as long as you know that treble clef means this line is going to be a G line. Bass clef means this line right here is going to be the F line. How do they meet in the middle? There's one line. One line doesn't. And this is, in fact, I'm going to draw it even more centered here. Oops. This one line will connect the bass staff and the treble staff together. And the note that goes on this line is called, let me draw a better one, is called middle C. Middle C joins these two together. So, if I were going to be paying attention to, okay, so let's go back to, alright, this D. I'm going to scoot this D back over here. D is that space, right? Because E is on the line, D is on the space. We've been doing line, space, line, space, line, space, line, space. Here's our space, our line, C. And right underneath that line, here's our space. Oh, look, it's B. That's how it's joined together. Even though there's a whole big space in between here, it's only joined together by one little note. We can talk about more of these little lines right here. These lines are called ledger lines. And you can have more ledger lines if you want to stay on one staff, but we're not going to talk about that right now. We're just going to talk about how middle C is on a ledger line, and they join the treble staff and the bass staff together. There are a lot of different ways where you can remember the names of the notes on the staff. And you can do what I just did, which is to figure out everything based off of one note from each clef. But there are easier ways to do it. I'm going to go back a whole lot so I can clear up some space here. Okay, oops, let's go for it. Okay. So, some of the fancy, some of the well-known ones are, so here's our G clef, and I know that F goes here, F, G, A, B is on the line, C is on a space, D is on a line, E is on a space. The treble staff spaces spell the word face. It's the only word that's made, unfortunately. I wish it was as easy as the rest of them being like that too, but that's what it is. If you want to know the lines, I'll go backwards here, so what comes before F, that's E. What comes after F, G. What comes after A, B. What comes after C, D. What comes after E, oops, F. And there are a lot of different ways that you can remember this particular one, this E, G, B, D, F. The one that's most common to me is every good boy does fine. Every good boy does fine. There are other ones too, like every good boy deserves fudge, or Elvis's guitar broke down Friday. Those are some other options. Okay, so let's look at the bass staff. How can we remember the names of the notes on that one? Well, if we know this is F, I am going to go way down, because every time you try to memorize a saying, it always goes from the bottom up. I happen to know, because I've been in this business for a while, that this bottom space down here is called A. And so I'm going to keep going. A, B's on the line, C's on a space, D's on a line, E's on a space, F's on a line, G is on a space. So the spaces in the bass staff spell A, C, E, G. And there are some ways that you can memorize this one. The one that I know about is all cows eat grass. There are ways to memorize the lines as well, so let's go backwards. A, what comes before A? What comes before A in the musical alphabet? Find an A. What goes before it? G. And that's always going to be a hard one to remember if you're new to reading music, is that what comes before A is G. So we have G, we have A. We have B's on a line, C's on a space. D is on a line, E's on a space. F is on a line, but we already knew that, because if you follow that one backwards, it's surrounded by those dots. F, okay? And then G is on a space. What comes after G? A. We have G, B, D, F, A. And that's kind of a, whoa, let me fix that. That's kind of a hard one to memorize, but one of my students came up with the saying, good burritos don't fall apart. That's my favorite one. So that is one of the ways that you can remember the names of the notes on the staff, is through face, every good boy does fine, all cows eat grass, good burritos don't fall apart. Why don't the same things work on the same spots? Let's back up quite a bit. Whoops, keep going there. Okay, what if I wanted to say, let's put the face idea on the bass staff? So I'm going to put F here, A here, C here, and E here. How is this going to work? See, because we know that because this is the F clef, that this note, this line, has to be an F. Can I do F, G, A, B, C, F? That doesn't follow our pattern. You can't use the wrong little saying on the wrong staff, or else you're going to get your notes all wrong. So, I mean, usually when you're learning an instrument, you're going to start with a small set of notes. For example, let's go to my virtual piano here. So if you're learning piano, you're going to learn C, D, E, F, G. And then the next set of notes might be going down, so C, B, A, G, F. You might learn those next. The other option is you're going to learn C, D, E, F, G up here, and then you're going to use your left hand to do C with your left hand. And then you're going to memorize where those 10 little lines and spaces are on the staff. And that's how you're going to learn those notes. Whatever you do, don't panic. Learn them in small little chunks, and also remember, they always go by steps. And you can, if you are really good at skip counting, which is to say like 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, you can skip count with letters and note names on the staff too, just like we just did right here, F, A, C, E. So let's say I said, all right, I'm going to give you a note right here. The note on this line right here is B. I want you to figure out what the name is of this line up here, and let's say you didn't know it was F. Just pretend that this didn't exist, okay? So it's like, okay, I'm on B, I need to go up 2 lines, so I'm going to skip count. Good burritos don't fall. Okay, so I know that's an F. Let's say I gave you this space. I said, here's your A. What's this space? And you would go A, B, C. Ah, okay. Or you could just go A, C, because you have memorized that in between A and C is the letter B, which is this line. There are lots of different ways to help you figure this out faster. I'm not going to go much into any of the other ones, but the point is that this is the grand staff. It's combined of the treble staff and the bass staff put together, linked by this bracket right here, and they are linked by one note, middle C. Middle C is your middle guy in between the treble staff and the bass staff. You can't use the same word combinations on different staffs, because it doesn't work that way, because we know this line has to be G, and this line has to be F. Why they didn't make it 2 treble clefs stacked on top of each other with some extra little lines in the middle, I don't know. But it is what it is. That is your introduction to the grand staff. Thanks for listening.